It was Halloween and the NFL players showed out. Even Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, who trolled as a blind referee. Some speculated he might even get fined over it. Uh-oh, said the billionaire. Hello everybody, welcome to Shut Up Football. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jeff Stoltzfus. That's Kevin. Last week, a goalpost was murdered. Russell Wilson led some mile-high calisthenics until Heinicke's feet have game. We'll talk about it, plus a look back at all of last week's games. We're talking about Week 8 of the NFL season. We'll recap the games in a second, but first, it's barely news. Russell Wilson told reporters he doesn't get jet-lagged. Must be that Wolverine blood he was talking about. He said in the 8-hour plane ride to London, he was doing high knees in the aisles while his teammates were trying to sleep. Kudos to Russell Wilson for seizing every opportunity to get better. And I'm sure it was not at all annoying to his teammates to have his labored breathing, high-stepping up and down the aisles, or doing box jumps in the cockpit. In fact, it turns out he set the standard for the rest of the league.
I mean, what do you want to know? What are we doing on the plane ride back home? I heard Lamar's leading us in high knees. Ravens flock, let's fly.
This is the perfect opportunity for Russell Wilson to rebound from his disastrous Subway commercial. Now's the time to introduce Russell Wilson's mile-high, knee-high, high-knee socks. By now, supplies are
unlimited.
A grounds crew accidentally took out the goalpost of a Virginia football team. I haven't heard if anyone got fired for this, but if there wasn't video, I would have blamed the students. They're always pulling those things down. Just sprinkle some Adderall and TikTok on the ground and get the hell out of there. In a recent interview, Commanders quarterback Taylor Heinicke revealed this.
I heard that you get a pair of throwback Jordans in the color of every single team that you beat in the NFL. Is that true?
Yeah, so that started last year.
Pretty cool, but not unique. I heard Carson Wentz does the same thing with fedoras, which means he has exactly 2 fedoras this year. That's really too many. Finally, before we move on, it's not barely news, it's actually real news. And we don't do that around here. That's not our brand. But I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the news that Dan Snyder has reportedly enlisted Bank of America to help sell the Commanders, or a minority stake in the team. I'm not a Commanders fan. I'm an Eagles fan. But I do live in the DMV, and I sincerely hope he sells the team. I think it would be good for the fans, the area, and the NFL in general. So, fingers crossed he doesn't Snyder this one up. Now it's time to take a look back at last week's games. It's time for the recap. The pregame featured Mike Evans and Ryan Fitzpatrick on a walk to nowhere. What is this, an Aaron Sorkin movie? Or a metaphor for Tom Brady's final season? The metaphors didn't stop there. The Bucs muffed a punt by running into the return man. And I gotta say, I've seen this before, but never this bad. The guy was actually facing the returner. Brady might look like a melting wax statue of his former self, but he was still throwing strikes and dropping dimes like a 10-cent snitch in this one. Albeit into triple coverage, but still. Vita Vea sacked Lamar Jackson, and he went for a swim. Land shark. Mark Andrews left early, a victim of the boo-boo fairy. Not to worry, rookie Isaiah Likely worked well in relief. He finished with 77 yards and a touchdown. The camera caught Brady with a Surface tablet, and we all collectively leaned forward in our seats for a show. Surprise! Ball spike. Though usually you do that after a touchdown. But they haven't had many of those this year, so it's always good practice, just in case. The Bucs dropped another one. Coach Bowles said, they're in a dark place right now, and the team just needs to grind. Grinding in the dark sounds fun, but it won't help you win football games. Someone pay the Bucs utility bill so they don't have to practice in the dark anymore. Good morning, sunshine. Time to wake up early and watch 2 teams with losing records. The Broncos and the Jags went to London. Seems strange to cross an ocean and spray paint a kitty on someone else's lawn. It was a record crowd at Wembley Stadium, which can only mean one thing. There is no soccer being played anywhere today. Trevor Lawrence tossed a ball to the sideline, where it was one-handed by a ball boy like it was nothing. I have only one question. What's his 40? Russell Wilson tossed special passes too, like at the end of the half when he threw one to an empty end zone. Even the DBs were disinterested. Russ eventually connected with Greg Dulcich. Evan Ingram had a touchdown, and Travis Etienne ran for 156 yards. But Lawrence was picked twice, and the Jags fell short. Russ spoke a lot that week, and he had a very similar message every time.
Yo, Broncos country, let's ride. Broncos country, let's ride. Broncos country, let's ride.
He's using catchphrases like punctuation marks. I feel sorry for Ciara, who I'm like 90% sure has to hear this at home and in the bedroom.
Let's ride.
Is he brainwashed or just brain damaged? All this time, we wondered why they wouldn't let Russ cook in Seattle. Turns out, he'd burned down the house making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. The Lions were wearing their Color Rush jerseys, and that color was gray, like the clouds that hang over this team. The Lions got up early on the Fins. In fact, they stayed up on them into the third. Jamal Williams scored a touchdown, and I swear to God, if it's not a gritty, these guys have no idea how to celebrate. Tua found Waddle for a couple of scores, and when the Penguins starts dancing, the Lions start to sweat. The Lions faked a punt, and it worked, but it only resulted in 3. The Dolphins worked their way down to the 1, and the Lions were called for offsides. But how did they know? It's as if there's some kind of line that was visible to all. The Lions have a lot of grit, but they don't have a lot of wins. Somehow the Panthers look better playing their backups on offense. Deontay Foreman had over 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. But the Falcons took the lead after a Demir Bird touchdown. The Panthers needed a miracle, and their prayers were answered after P.J. Walker chucked a Hail Mary and DJ Moore took it to church. Unfortunately, Moore took his helmet off to celebrate and was flagged. You can't take your mask off in the middle of a bank heist just because you're happy. It was a simple mistake and a dumb rule. The penalty pushed the field goal back, and kicker Eddie Pinheiro missed it. They should have been resting comfortably and eating salted meats, but instead, they had to go into overtime and look at pocket change. After Mariota was picked, Pinheiro missed another field goal. The Falcons' Younghoe Koo did not miss his. The Falcons escaped with a win, and at 4-4, mediocre is good enough to lead this division. Koo was carried off the field on the shoulders of his teammates. Eddie Pinheiro too, except he was fed to the closest dumpster. Kirk Cousins said last year they couldn't find the inches in too many games, but this year they found them. A weird way to put it. It sounds like an art film crowdsourced by porn addicts. DeAndre Hopkins' return has been a heart transplant for this team. 156 yards and a touchdown. So it was a hold your breath moment for Cardinals fans when the Vikings tried to behead him. That seems like headhunting or targeting. The guy had his alphabets turned into Cheerios and all the refs' flags must be in the laundry. Zadarius Smith had 3 sacks in this game. He said he hates how people aren't talking about them. Zadarius, I got you covered. The Vikings are the best team in the NFL, right after the Bills, Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys, 49ers, and Ravens, and possibly the Dolphins and Seahawks. Jared Allen joined the Vikings Ring of Honor. He rode out on a horse, which was boss as hell, assuming everyone cheered for him. Otherwise, pretty awkward. I can't wait to see Dalvin Cook navigate horse shit in this game, aka the Cardinals defense. They couldn't catch Kirk Cousins if they were duct taped to him. Tony Pollard is the real deal. He had 131 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's like a young Ezekiel Elliott, but without the crippling soup addiction. The Cowboys took it to the Bears, but not without a few hiccups. One of the coaches explained something like a kid who wanted cake for breakfast. David Montgomery fumbled the ball, and Micah Parsons dropped on it. Fields could have touched him down, but instead hurdled him, allowing him to take it the other way for a score. Dak threw a touchdown to Jake Ferguson, who celebrated by engaging fellow tight end Dalton Schultz in a little premeditated BDSM roleplay. It wasn't all Cowboys. The Bears lost this time, but they put up 30 on one of the best defenses in the league. Bears fans, take heart. Justin Fields and the team are showing signs of incremental growth. Though I know faith in his team feels a bit like falling crotch first onto a bear trap. Josh McDaniels has to be one of the worst retread coaches in history. I don't know why everybody was so horny to sign him. A year ago, this team was a 10-7 playoff team. It's November, and they only have 2 wins. They just got shut out by a team with a losing record. Splash trade Devontae Adams yielded 1 reception for 3 yards. They say teams take on the persona of their coach. This one just laid down in a ditch and died. Alvin Kamara had 3 touchdowns. I don't think he even broke a sweat. Andy Dalton treated the Raiders' D like a Burger King drive-thru. He had it his way. Derek Carr looked wretched. Perhaps Tim Tebow isn't a man at all, but a gelatinous state that all Josh McDaniels quarterbacks submit to. A.J. Brown had 3 touchdowns. Congratulations. Enjoy your totally random drug testing tomorrow. After one of his touchdowns, Brown pointed at the defenders. He was flagged for taunting. God, I hope they'll be okay. Somebody notify their next of kin. He said he was just counting them. This ain't no daycare. Save your reckless fingers for the sideline, you dangerous son of a bitch. The Eagles' defense was called for delay of game by making a move that was unlike football. The fuck does that mean? I make a lot of moves on any given day that are unlike football. I'm making one right now. The Eagles steamrolled over the Steelers. They had 6 sacks and an interception. When the dust cleared, Jason Kelce donned a Batman mask in what I can only assume is a direct challenge to my lumpy Batman persona. One that I'm ill-prepared to defend, as my physique is best described as unlike football. Pickett threw his team under the bus, saying they don't study enough. You hear that, nerds? Gather your books and meet Kenny in the cafeteria for a cram sesh. Zach Wilson had over 350 yards and 2 touchdowns. And if I stop talking now, that sounds really impressive. Unfortunately, Wilson threw some very bad passes too. 3 interceptions. Mac Jones had a bad interception too. The Jets took it back 84 yards for a score, except for one thing. The Jets were flagged for roughing the passer, negating the whole damn thing. Jones hit Jacoby Myers for a score, and the Patriots just kept adding field goals all day. Belichick has the second most wins in NFL history now. He said he'll celebrate by cracking a smile sometime next week. Maybe. Rookie QB Malik Willis got his first start for the Titans, and he should have brought a lawn chair. Derrick Henry did most of the work, over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. Henry has a huge back. It can carry the whole damn team like a mama opossum. His second on the day was a franchise record. Mills threw a touchdown to Pierce in the final seconds, just so the score didn't look so sad. I mean, it was still pretty sad. It was the perfect collision of overachieving teams. Something had to give. Unfortunately for the Giants, the Seahawks have a roster. Like with receivers and everything. Pete Carroll was flagged for bumping into an official. Come on, Pete. You know how this works. No witnesses. Richie James fumbled a punt return early in the game, and everyone thought, there's no way he does it a second time, right? Wrong. Giants fans were calling for his hide. Sneak out the back, Richie. Start a new life in Seattle as a barista named Dave. Buy a dog that loves you and never touch a football again. Your life depends on it. Sam Ellinger got his first start and he looked not so bad. Matt Ryan was there too. I don't know why. Maybe he gets his mail there. The day started out okay, but at some point, things went sideways for the Commanders, and they were trailing late. That's when Heinicke stepped up. He found McLaurin for some late-game heroics, down at the 1, and then he snuck it in himself. I don't mean he snuck it in himself, I mean the end zone. Although, that would be a pretty tricky play, but you'd need to wear your pants backwards to make it work, because of the zipper. Heinicke earned himself some sweet new blue Jordans. When Carson Wentz comes back from injury, they're gonna have to make a decision. Do you want to put the best quarterback on the field, or do you want to win football games? The sign says Rams House. The crowd says otherwise. Matthew Stafford took off for the end zone, and it looked amazing on the pylon's doorbell camera. McCaffrey had a huge day. 3 touchdowns, rushing, receiving. He even threw for 1. So I guess they did trade for a quarterback. The Niners have a running back that can do everything, and the Rams have one that took his ball and went home. Garoppolo had a decent day at the park too. 2 touchdowns, including 1 to George Kittle. The Niners defense kept Stafford in check. In fact, Nick Bosa's post-sack smile is the most understated, underappreciated celebration in all of football. Look at that. It was rough sledding for the Rams, whose rushing production was led by some guy named Ronnie. I think he does tech support for him. Diggs came down the tunnel jawing at Packers cornerback Jair Alexander, most likely trading tuna casserole recipes. This one got out of hand early. The Bills got out in front quick, and people started acting a fool. Linebacker Quay Walker shoved someone on the sideline, which is very much frowned upon. Actually, it's illegal. They kicked him out of the game. The Bills cruised through this one. They didn't even play that well. Aaron Jones piled up yards, and the Bills didn't really seem that bothered by it. Aaron Rodgers threw a touchdown to Romeo Doubs, and I'm not sure if he made a hard catch look easy or an easy one look way harder than it needed to be. Where's that lunch money? Leave Joshy alone! It wasn't until the 4th when he tossed another one to whoever the fuck this is. Samare Torre? I don't believe you. Rodgers is metaphysically willing new receivers into existence. He'll have to. The Packers show no interest in signing any. Happy Halloween! The Bengals dressed up as an incompetent football team. Are they really that bad without Jamar Chase? The front line does not appear to be a problem you can throw money at. Burrow was sacked 5 times and lost a fumble. Miles Garrett and company tore through them like wet toilet paper. He even did the Thriller dance. That's a Michael Jackson reference. For the kids. The Bengals didn't get on the board until the fourth quarter. By then it was too late.
Why, hell, he's levitating again. Play some Kate Bush.
Burrow had been buried alive in a shallow grave of candy corn. What are you gonna do? The Browns literally wear Halloween colors. Thank you so much for watching Shut Up Football. We do appreciate it. We'll catch you next time. Peace!
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys. It sound right, boy.
Oh, no, you didn't. What are you doing? What are you doing? What's happening? Russell Wilson's mile high. High knees, knee-high socks. Uh-oh.